Like as they say in church, good seats up front.
Call the meeting to order. There will be no public comment. We can see that pretty easily.
It might be.
Yeah, Mike's public.
No, he knows what he's going to talk about. So, minutes? Paul?
Might got something else on it.
Charlotte, we have a mandate on masks.
Oh, right, I
Ready?
have one.
I don't want to wear one, but the door says we have to have them on.
You okay?
Right. Yeah.
I recommend approval of the minutes of January 25th, 2022, and February 8th, 2022.
We have a motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Before we leave that, I'd like to raise the issue about the minutes.
Let's hear it.
I think Kristen's doing a great job,
She is.
but the last minutes were 11 pages long. And she's really doing a verbatim minute taking. And she's doing a lot more work than she really has to do. She's doing a great job, but the intent is not to have verbatim minutes, but to have the essence of what was done and what decisions were made. So what I'd like to do is hear from the rest of the board on your thoughts on how we can give better direction to Kristen when she prepares. She's doing a lot of work and she's doing a good job.
She
But
is.
when you get 11 pages of minutes, that's an awful lot. It doesn't have to be that long.
Let's hear what people think. Any thoughts?
I mean, it seems like it's almost like a stenographer. So I don't know who she could talk to that might give her some direction. I'm certainly not the person to give someone directions on how to take minutes.
Well, I think what we need to do is to capture the essence of what was said. Because if you go back and look at the minutes, to get a sense of what happened 5 years or 10 years later, you can't get it if it's just the motion.
Yeah.
And so we don't need to have verbatim, but we need to have an essence of what was said and who said.
Keep
Other
in mind,
comments?
keep in mind, we're recorded, okay, and videoed. So they can always go back and get the word for word from another source. I think it's more important to say, these people spoke in favor of it, these people were against it, and and these issues were brought up.
Yeah,
It's something along that line.
synthesis of the reasoning.
Right, but really, it should be no more than one, if we have 3 hearings, it should be no more than 3 pages. You know,
Maybe, maybe not, Jim. Some of these go on.
not for minutes, is what I'm saying. I don't think, I think it is not a total recording of everything we say. It's just what was talked about.
Right, it's not verbatim. John, do you have some thoughts on it?
I think that maybe a town planner could show us some examples of previous people that have taken minutes for our meetings, good examples, bad examples, and we could go from there.
Correct. Robert's Rules requires only that you give the minimum, so that it's a date, a time, number of people who attended, the sense of you don't have to put the sense of what was said, you have to put the votes and record the votes. So anything beyond that is beyond Robert's Rules, but we have always benefited from having at least a sense of the discussion. Paul, I wonder if, I don't know if this is proper or not, Jed, Paul, if you could perhaps, if you're willing, work directly with her. I'm sure you have saved copies of things. You could just give her some assistance for a minute.
Well, again, I'm not criticizing Kristen at all. She does a great job.
No, but she's a beginner. She could benefit
We
from
don't,
this.
as Jim says, there is a video of it if somebody wants to get into the detail. But it really needs to be a summary of what was said and the vote. That's what's really important. And I would suggest we have what's your name? Jed,
Changes all the
talk to her. And
So you
see if
don't
we can
wish
work
to-
out something that she's happy with and we're happy with and
I
Jed's
think
happy with.
part of the 11 pages I might have brought down on you because I commented on them that something was missing, and so produced more. But Jed, if you could take it in hand,
Yep, I'd be happy to.
Because you know what we're looking for.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I mean, you have to put yourself into it, too. If you're looking at something 5 years from now, why did we vote the way we did?
Sure.
Okay,
okay?
thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to, we have on our agenda today, one A&R and one public meeting. The public meeting is being withdrawn, actually, so we're going to begin with our A&R. Buzzards Bay Coalition is the applicant. Plan of land to combine, wait, it's hard to talk through this. Plan of land to combine Lot 8 with Lot F1 and parcel BC located at 0 Quistit Avenue and 18 Woodruff Land. Mike Rosselli is going to speak on that.
Thank you, Chairperson and members of the Planning Board. For the record, Michael Borselli, Falmouth Engineering, and I represent the applicant Buzzards Bay Coalition. Looks like Jed was kind enough to put the assessor's map up here. So I think you are probably familiar with the parcel in question, but I'm going to highlight it on this assessor's map. It's this large piece here.
Click on it, it should highlight itself.
There you go. So this large orange piece owned by the Buzzards Bay Coalition is also owned, other land is also owned by them adjacent, which is this piece here. And the Buzzards Bay Coalition acquired the land in the recent past, and they developed a driveway connection from Woods Hole Road that meanders through the property, not for the purposes of development, just for the purposes of access. There's no plans to ever do any development on this land. It's basically being preserved, other than for certain needs that the Buzzards Bay Coalition has to work with the areas of the land that are already developed, that being where these two buildings and driveway are. So with that, I'll share my plans to give you a little bit more detail. Now, this plan may look very busy, and you might be wondering what all this red line work and labeling is. This land is registered land court land. So when you have land court land, the level of review and scrutiny is by the land court. It's a lot more detailed and requires more information. So the red line work really shouldn't be something you should be concerning yourself with. It's basically showing some survey information as to how we traversed around the whole parcel, which was required when we surveyed this land. So this plan, the purpose of the plan is to take a large parcel of land that is currently known as Lot 8, which is the big parcel that I'm surrounding with my mouse, and merging it with another parcel that's smaller and also owned by the Buzzards Bay Coalition called Lot F1. And Lot F1 I am now tracing, it's a triangular piece. So you can see these lines are dashed because the intention is that they get merged with Lot 8. Now there's another plan, and it makes reference to this parcel 8C. Parcel 8C is not land court land, but it is also owned by the Buzzards Bay Coalition, and it doesn't go to the land court for review. It goes just to the Registry of Deeds on the unregistered side of the Registry of Deeds. So because of that, we were required to create two plans. So you'll see this plan doesn't have all the red on it because the requirements for unregistered land are not as intense as for registered, or also known as land court land. So in a nutshell, we're asking permission to do a merger of Lot F1 and what's identified as parcel 8C which is this, to be merged with the large parcel that is currently called Lot 8. And when all is said and done, the entire area of land will be over 30 acres. It's significant now, but it'll become much larger by the area of these two lots. So the purpose, the reason for the merger is so that it's all one parcel, and the Buzzards Bay Coalition is not limited by zoning constraints with regard to setbacks for plans they have to expand this building and not have to worry about minimum setbacks to property lines and things like that, lot coverage and things like that. So it's all one parcel, and these areas are no longer restricting how they may choose to use the land in this area. I wanted to point out something that I knew about, but I didn't correct. But Member Kerfoot picked up on it. Parcel 10B, Buzzards Bay Coalition, this label here is not correct. It's a typo. So if you vote to endorse this, the plan that you is endorsed and signed will have this label removed. This is just a typo. Sometimes when you're in CAD design and you're copying and moving things around, you forget to erase things.
Next block.
That's all it is. It's a
in the wrong
block.
place.
It's a labeling block that we didn't, it shouldn't be there. So I probably sufficiently confused you, but I'm happy to,
No, it seems clear enough.
Yep.
Our concerns, of course, are frontage and access. Could you just point out the frontage that you've got and the access that you've got?
I can do that. So the frontage is on Woods Hole Road right here. And it's made up of two pieces, which is the current frontage that's always been there, 124.66 feet going from this point to a point of curvature right here. Believe it or not, that's a radius of 1,426 feet. And then there's a straight section of 84.5 feet here. So the total frontage is 200 and...
Mike, you said 1,000.
Oh, yeah, the radius is 1,000, believe it or not. The radius is 1,000. See right there?
Okay.
That radius is, it's a huge radius, but the length of the frontage, or the length of curve on that is 124. The radius is 1,426, believe it or not. And then there's
Any questions?
a straight section there.
John, Bob, Jim?
No.
Pat, Paul?
There's a couple of parcels on Quistit Avenue that belong to Buzzards Bay Coalition. You're not trying to incorporate those in this parcel, are you?
No, I think you're referring to this parcel.
Well, that one says 1, and then further to the right, there's another parcel that's not delineated, parcel 108.
That's the one that has the false label on it.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
10B.
that's the false
Yeah,
label.
that's the mistake.
Yeah.
Okay,
So the
that
Buzzards Bay
could make sense.
Coalition, and I'll zoom in on it close. This isn't being merged with it, but this label is pointing to this odd-shaped piece here is owned by the Buzzards Bay Coalition as well. This label will be eliminated. It's a mistake.
Okay, that makes sense.
This is another piece not owned by the Buzzards Bay Coalition. It's identified in the assessor's records as owned by Thomas Reed and Judith G. Stetson.
Mike, you say the Buzzards Bay Coalition has no plan to build on it. Is there any formal conservation restriction on it, or that's their intention?
I'm not privy to the actual restrictions, but my understanding is it is restricted, and there's no intentions to do any development. This is just woodland. And they intend to, it was explained to me that this might be open to the public and some, for access, just for like educational purposes and things, that they may expand this barn building to have some offices and some educational uses there for the public. but I don't have any specific details on it.
Okay, if there are no further questions, Paul?
Yeah. I'm curious, when are they planning on doing in this large parcel? Have they
Nothing.
disclosed that?
Nothing.
Nothing.
They don't have a plan. They may, at some point in the future, use a piece of it for an educational purpose.
Not affordable housing, is it?
No.
No plans, in fact, I don't want to speak for the Buzzards Bay Coalition, but there are restrictions on it.
Restricted. Okay, in that case, John,
I make a motion to approve with,
Well, we endorse it.
Endorse.
to endorse?
endorse with town planner reviewing the revised plan.
Excellent. A second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You've got it. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you very much.
Good presentation.
Thank you.
Okay, on this, our applicant, who is coming forward for a site plan review application, has not brought us some material that we needed and has requested in writing a continuation on the site plan for 2 weeks to the next hearing on March 8th, 2022.
I move.
You want to move that?
I certainly will. I move that we accept the request for the extension.
Is there a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
I'm recused from that hearing.
All right. Okay, so then we come to announcements. Any announcements? Hearing none. General correspondence.
None
Hearing
received.
none. Future agenda items.
I think we should look at our determination of access policy, and I'd like to have a discussion about that.
Good idea. Okay, we put that on for the 8th, depending on the length of that agenda.
Mhm.
What I had asked for in the increase in the minutes from the last meeting was, I had done some research on that and reported it to the board, and have wanted it to be in the record, and completely forgotten, Jim, that the record also includes the recording and the video, as Paul pointed out. But I think it's still good. Mostly people who are doing research, I believe, still head toward the files and the paper, because finding the video, getting the equipment, plugging it in, is all an extra step. That might not be true in the future, but it still is now. Any other future agenda items? No? The next meeting will be March 8th, 2022.
I
Having
move
com-
adjournment.
You do. Is there a second?
Second that.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Is this a record?
Yes, it
Yes,
is.
you've broken all my records, Charlotte. You've broken every
From
single